Well, one of the important distinctions that needs to be made both in research and in discussions that parents have, because it is one that really can change the behavior of people, has to do with defining and getting it right what co-sleeping means versus what bed sharing means versus what sofa sharing means. Co-sleeping is referring to any situation in which a mother and baby or a father and baby or a committed caregiver and a baby are within sensory range of each other, can detect each other in terms of seeing and hearing and feeling and perhaps even smelling, so that each of the participants can detect and respond to those signals and cues of the other, because it changes for the baby's physiology in very, very important ways. There are as many ways to co-sleep with your baby as there are cultures doing it, thousands of different ways, depending upon where you are. In our culture, one way would be to have your baby in bed with you, called bed sharing. Another way to do it would be to have your baby sleeping alongside in a bassinet within arm's reach, or in a pack and play. The Navajo Indians put a baby on a cradle board and lean the cradle board right next to a modern bed. That's their way of co-sleeping. Some moms around the world sleep on a hammock with their baby, some, on a raised platform. So it isn't really so much what the physical structure looks like on which it takes place, though the safety issues, need to be raised, but it's very important that the actual proximity and contact takes place, because that's what is biologically appropriate. For example, in terms of the ways this can be misused, bed sharing is often used as kind of a proxy for any and all co-sleeping. So in other words, somebody might say something like, "Oh, I heard that co-sleeping is extremely dangerous. Just 5 babies died last week or last month in Detroit from co-sleeping." And what they are talking about isn't perhaps co-sleeping. They're talking specifically either about sofa sleeping, recliner sleeping, or bed sharing, which can be, in many ways, either safe or dangerous. Let me explain. Bed sharing may be safe or dangerous, depending on specifically how it's done. I always suggest to parents that a breastfeeding mother-baby pair is much safer in a bed than is a bottle-feeding mother-baby pair, because the physiology of breastfeeding is very different in both the mother and the baby in terms of sensitivities to the presence of the other. They arouse in relationship to each other. They wake a lot to feed. The baby's placed lower on the arm of the mom, down to mid-level of her body to get to and from the breast. And the baby's always put on its back. The baby doesn't care to move anywhere, somewhere else in the bed. Just wants to be as close to its mother as is possible. So co-sleeping needs to be further distinguished. And the question someone might say is, "Oh, co-sleeping, but what kind of co-sleeping are you referring to? Bed sharing, sofa sleeping or recliner sleeping?" Oh, and sofa sleeping and recliner sleeping. Now, there are 2 forms that are always dangerous. You want to avoid them. But that is a form of co-sleeping, but it's an unsafe variety. So one could always say to somebody, for example, "Oh, one way in which you can sleep with your baby and it's always safe, one form of co-sleeping, it's called separate surface co-sleeping." Some people like to call it room sharing, meaning you're in the same room. But personally, I don't like that term, because it kind of distances what's really being shared. It's not the inert walls of this room that are being shared, and that's protective of babies, and indeed, because room sharing is protective. It's really person sharing. It's the mother or the father who's committed to that baby in the room that's changing something about that baby and making that baby healthier and safer for its night's sleep. It's proactive. So, separate surface co-sleeping or person sharing, but on separate surfaces, is extremely important and always safe.